Jazmin, welcome back to the Retail Whore Podcast. I am so excited to continue on this conversation. We talked about your retail store. We talked about your background. It is an amazing story that honestly, like, I feel like I had to pick my jaw off the ground. Now we're going to talk about your next evolution, because you have truly, just in talking to you for an hour plus, like, you have to watch and listen to what you've done and created on your own your family grew up as immigrants. Your mom and dad met picking onions in the fields in Texas. And like, truly, like, this is the American dream. And you are continuing on this legacy. And to see this and now know this part of the story is like amazing. And I'm so honored that you're telling it to all of us. So now that we've covered the retail part of it, we're going to start talking about the TikTok part of it, because some of the information, because retail is very weird. Like, retailers, it's a very competitive atmosphere, which is great. And part of what I love about the Boutique Hub and what Ashley has created was it is community over competition. And I've said it that I feel like if more and more retailers all shared the things that work for them and that don't work for them, it would make our industry as small business, independent businesses stronger. But there is a very large, maybe not large, but there's a big enough group of people that want to hold the secrets and don't want to talk. And it's like, believe me, I came out of Fred Siegel and like no one would talk. It was like everything was a secret. And it was like, it's dumb. And I would rather give it all up for a stronger industry. And that's one of the things that people say about the podcast is how much they're learning from other retailers. And I feel like this next leg of this next part of this interview is your willingness to talk about this and the success of it. I think is huge, because TikTok scares people. Let's be straight. Like, everyone's worried it's going to get shut down. I will be surprised if it does, but it scares people. And I'm like, everything, like something new, something out of the blue, like something is always going to scare people. Yes, but my philosophy is if you're on Instagram and Facebook, they already know pretty much everything. There's not much that's a secret. So talk to me about when your TikTok went from your family and everything into more of a business platform.
Well, it's still a combination of both, right? I think I just posted a video. It was like a trending TikTok, and it was my husband with that AI Viggle, whatever, doing like, if you love your wife, whatever. Only because my husband, he's also very funny. So he's known, like, he's on TikTok as well. And some of his videos have gone extremely viral, like 1 million views viral, because he is a funny guy. So I don't know. One day, I've been doing these custom trucker hats in stores since August of last year. But then
custom orders in your store.
Yeah, like people would come in. I had a little hat bar set up, and they were just, making their hats. But then I started seeing on TikTok that more people were making them online. And then now there was like more people, they started jumping on the trend. And even in my local area, more people started jumping on the trend. So it was one day, it was like late March, and there was an event here in our downtown area. And I don't know, I had a hat on and I took it off, and I was making some hats in the store. And there's another vendor outside, because we had a market outside, doing hats. And I started thinking, I'm like, okay, as one does, how can I change things up a little bit? Because now I have competition. Like, how can I be different? Because I've always wanted myself to just be different. I wanted it to be me, right? So I took off the hat I was wearing. I remember it's a pink hat, it was during the Masters time. And I'm like, I wonder if I can stitch it. Like, if I can just stitch through it. And I think, I don't know how many needles I broke. And then I saw that I had like it's called an owl, AWL. And I started piercing. I'm like, oh, let me pierce it to see if this works. And that's that. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, this is going to look cool. Like, it's like threading a sweater or something. So I started stitching and I'm like, oh, wow, I actually like how this looks. I messed up a couple hats after that, trying to figure out better ways to stitch them, make the embroidery look cleaner. And then one day I'm like, well, my TikToks were getting like 200 or 300 views. So I'm like, let me just video myself doing this. And I did it. I helped my teenager. I have a 16-year-old. She helped me edit it. And I put it on TikTok. And now like it just blew up. And then in the next few days, I went from like 200 views to I think now it's like 78,000 views.
Wow.
And one day I'm like, you know what? Let me just go on live. I'm like, I need to get out of my own way. Okay. So this is why I knew I had to do something. So when I moved my store, I had to be closed for 4 weeks, remodeling, setting everything up, whatever. So I was closed for 4 weeks, and people didn't know that I had opened, or they thought I had closed. So I'm trying to rebuild my customer, teach my customers I was here, because you can put it on social media, but that doesn't always mean that you're going to reach them. So business was slow to pick up because a lot of people thought I had closed, and they in the block that I moved in our downtown area, there had never been, any retail spaces. So people would just drive on by to the next block where all the stores started. And then in January, this holiday season was slow for me compared to last year's numbers. Then in January, they had just undertaken a part of our bicentennial celebrations, because this year our city turned 200 years old. They were building like an amphitheater, public bathrooms, food truck parking. So it was going to be a beautiful space that they had planned out, for the community. They shut down the street right in front of my store.
God.
Not only did they shut down the street, they shut down the sidewalk.
Ugh.
At that moment, I remember I posted it on Instagram, a story, and I just started bawling my eyes out in January, when it's so slow to begin with. And then there's like, oh, it's only going to be 2 weeks. 2 weeks turned into 3, 3 turned into 5, 5 turned into 9 weeks. Oh, my store was shut down half of January, all of February.
Did they supplement? Did they give you any kind of? No way. Wow.
Zero. Wow. Bro, they kind of just like, sorry, it's for the better of our community. It is what it is. Ugh. I still had to pay rent. I still had to pay my bills. I still had invoices due because I had taken out net 60 terms.
Yeah.
And financially, it really devastated me.
Oh my God, no doubt.
I went into a deep depression. I cried a lot about it. I thought I was going to have to close my store. I didn't want to close my store. My parents are like, you're not going to close your store. Like, we don't care what we have to do. My husband's like, I don't care if I have to work extra. You have never been happier. So it's been hard. I had to let go of my staff. So then I've had to just
COVID all over again, only different.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've had to start all over again. Like, it's been hard. It has been really hard. That's why my customers are like, oh, Jazmin, what's going on? We see another painting up. So during that time, of course, as retailers that I have learned, and I was like, okay, what can I do? How can I pivot? Like, what new can I bring? And I haven't done a good as job as like marketing and advertising it, because I have been stuck in my head, because I'm still like, I'm getting out of it now. TikTok has helped a lot. I added jewelry engraving to the store. So I do in-store jewelry engraving.
Wow.
And I have a little engraving bar set up. And then the whole hat thing started. And the hats have really helped put me out of this slump that I was in. And going on live on TikTok has really helped me deal with my mental health aspect of it. Because like for so long, because I was never like a fashionable girly or whatever. And I'm 40 years old, by the way. It's like I'm kind of late to the game in that aspect. You see all these boutiques with these young, really cute girls. Going on TikTok live, I kind of just told myself, you know what? I need to do whatever it takes. I want to be able to, like, if I have to close my doors, I want to be able to say I gave it my all. And I knew going on live and just putting myself out there was part of that. I need to give it my all. I can't say I tried everything, because I know I didn't try everything. So I started going on TikTok live, and the first day was so scary, because I'm, what do you call it? Imposter syndrome is very real with me.
Yeah.
Especially with my age and just everything.
Your age. Okay, I'm 58. Please.
I know.
40 again.
I know. But it's like all the cute boutiques around me, they're all owned by like 20 somethings and 30 somethings. Then it's like me 40. you know? But I just like put myself on there and I was just like, imposter syndrome is real. I was like, what if nobody logs on? What if there's only like 2 people and 3 people? What do I even talk about? You know?
That's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. What do I even talk about? But then my daughter, my 16-year-old, she really has like my baby, she has really helped me just get out of my own way. She's like, mommy, just be you. Like talk to people the way you talk to me, the way you talk to my friends. And I'm like, I'm mija, but I'm like very
from the mouth of babes.
Huh? Yeah.
Term is from the mouth of babes.
Yeah. And I'm very like, I'm a Sagittarius. I believe in astrology and all that stuff. And my therapist, she's like, you are a Sag through and through. Cool Sag. I'm very blunt, but I'm very caring. She said, but you don't have a filter sometimes. I'm like, I know. And that's the hardest part. They don't have a filter. But I went on live and I just, all of a sudden now I have like 50, 60, up to 80 people on my live some days. And we talk about, like, I'm making a hat and like, I give them a disclaimer, like, guys, I have ADHD, like, just mind with me because we're going to go on like 3, 4 different topics. And now I have women that that are on my live every single day.
Well, you're building community and that's what I think a lot of people don't realize, that when you go on live, but you stay consistent with it. Like,
yes.
You are like, and it happened a lot during COVID. Like there's a couple, like one of the stores that I interviewed, she had said we were going live and we finally were open again. And people would come in and say, thank you so much. By seeing you and talking to you, it gave me this community. It gave me, because I wasn't seeing anybody every day. I didn't have family. I didn't have friends around me. I was all by myself. And you being live where I could say hi and you recognized me and said hi back, like that was everything. And that's what you're doing.
It is exactly what I'm doing, because I have women that are like, oh my God, I listen to you like a podcast. I'm at work and like I have my phone set up right there and I have you on my AirPods and I'm just listening to you. And we have what I call TED Talks. And we talk about mental health and we just talk about parenting teenagers and how I parent my daughter. Or we talk about just life in general. Okay,
so I can gain perspective. So you are having these conversations live as you're making hats?
Mm-hmm.
So are you building hats that people are on live with you? Or are you building hats like when I called mine in and just said, you do you?
No.
So you're doing it live, and then at the same time you're having all these that is major. That is impressive. I don't think I could do, even with my ADHD, I don't know if I could have a conversation going and at the same time be like, oh, okay, you want stars? Okay, let me see what I have. Oh yeah, and then you continue on the
that is literally on my lives go.
That speaks volume. That's amazing. So
that's literally
the community you have, like, and it within building this, like, how many hats are you doing? Like, how long are your lives going, and how many hats are you kicking out?
Be about 5-6 hours a day. I usually go to live like Tuesday through Friday for about 5 hours, and I make between 7 to 10 hats a day.
And because you're going live, then you obviously have somebody else in the store covering the store. Or you cover?
My daughter has helped. Like, she's on summer break. So, and because of this, I was able to finally hire somebody part-time. And now my daughter's in the store helping me. But I want to get to the point, like, I have Management One now that helps me. I hired Management One. They're amazing. I learned about them through the Boutique Hub. I work with Fiona and she's amazing. But
about what for those, okay, so for Management One is a buying platform that helps you do your open to buy. So talk a little bit about how Fiona coaches you so everyone has an idea of what, working with Management One is like, for those who don't know.
So she helps me, like, okay, she calls it's science. Retail is science. And I have learned that being in business on like 1.5 years almost, there is a science to retail. It's not just like, oh, this is cute, let me buy it and hope it does well. No. There's actually a science. And she has taught me, like, she'll go in, look at my numbers from last year, from last month, and I think she's had like 30 years of experience in the industry. I think she was a buyer for Ralph Lauren for many years.
Oh,
So she has a lot of retail experience, and she like buying and kind of seeing trends, and not that she tells me what to buy, but she'll direct me like, hey, Jazmin, last year you sold X amount in tops, and last month you sold $2,000 in tops, and you sold $500 in bottoms. I think for this next month, it's summer coming up. You need to buy dresses. You need to buy X amount in dresses. You need to buy X amount in tops. You need to buy X amount in shoes, X amount in women's accessories, because this is the number that we want you to meet going forward. So she doesn't tell me what to buy. She tells me she recommends.
yeah.
The number.
Do you, because I know that I've actually, Margot, who I've had interviewed, she's an open to buy person, and is always sending me recommendations. And one of the ladies she sent me, and she's like, I just want to let you know, I don't work with Margot anymore on open to buy things. She said, I found it took the joy out of my job, because she's like, I really want to buy what I want to buy. And she was telling me, you need to buy more of this department. You need to buy more of this department. She's like, and I didn't want to buy that. I wanted to buy what I wanted to buy. So she saw, but I think that it is a science. And I think that in order for you to be profitable, you can't always buy what you quote unquote want to buy. You need to follow the science, and the science is in the numbers.
Yeah. And so I've always been realistic in expectations for myself as well. People always ask me like, oh my God, Jazmin, like you're so good at everything. What are you not good at? I'm like, baking. Like, I don't know how to bake. So I leave it to the experts. And I know you as a business owner, you have to humble yourself in a way, to know your weaknesses, understand your strengths. And Ashley said it best I think it was in one of her podcasts as well that I heard. She's like, do you want to be the entrepreneur for the rest of your life, or do you want to be the CEO of your business? Mm. So that really resonated with me, and I kind of took a deeper dive into that. And I'm like, that's true. Like, do I want to hustle my whole life, or do I want to one day be able to concentrate on the fun and aspects of my business that give me the greatest joy, which is the creative part? I want to be the one that buys the stuff from my store. I want to be the one that merchandises my store. I don't care. Like, I don't want to leave the merchandising to my employees. I love doing that. Like, I love walking into my store like on a Tuesday and be like, oh, okay, we're changing everything. We're tearing everything down and we're moving everything. My favorite. Like, my favorite is just to clear off a table and start brand new. Like, I want to be able to do that. I don't want to sit there and worry about barcoding clothing or putting it in the system or making a Canva template, or I don't want to do that. So when I started working with Fiona, that was hard, because this was me coming off of my move and then the 9 weeks. And she's like, Jazmin, I know you really love home decor. I know that's what you really wanted for your business. But right now, home decor is not driving your sales. Yep. So right now there's no home decor in my store. But she's like, but we're going to work towards it, Jazmin. And hopefully in the fall, you can get back to it. But these 9 weeks and the moving really hurt your core business. And home decor is like, you can't flip home decor as fast as clothing. She's like, so you have to, I trust her. And we have developed, like, I have felt with her, I think you have to find the right person. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, like, especially with people like consultants that you bring, like management one, you have to find the one person that you click with. Yep. And the way she works,
trust is built.
Yes, that you have to be able to build that trust. So I, as a business owner, like I said, you have to humble yourself to know that you are not right about everything. Mm. You are not right about everything, and you know what you know, and you have to accept that you don't know what you don't know. So if she is looking at my numbers, obviously she's doing something. She's seeing something that I'm not seeing. And was I happy when she told me, Jazmin, you can't have home decor for right now? I was not happy, because I'm like, but it's so pretty.
No way.
It's what makes me happy. And she's like, yes, but women's clothing is what's driving your sales. Yep. And I'm like, okay, like it was sad to hear, but she gave me light. She's like, if you can do all these things, make all these numbers, then fall, you can start carrying home decor again, but it won't be as much. You have to build up to it. So I'm like, okay, you have to trust the person you're working with. And she is the expert. I am not. I have 1.5 years in retail experience. She has 30.
Yeah.
With a big company. So who am I to question her? And this goes back to me being a nurse, right? Because I know what I know and I know what I don't know. So like, I'm not going to give somebody advice on pediatrics and babies because I've never worked in that field as a nurse. So who am I to tell a pediatric nurse, oh, you're doing that wrong? I've never done that.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
But it's like, as a business owner, you can't be egotistical to think that you know better, because you can't possibly know every single aspect of a business 100%.
No one can. And this is where ego gets in the way of like, I know. And it's like, believe me, I can say me with the ego when I was 27 years old and I had my stores at Fred Siegel. I thought I fucking knew everything. I was like, I thought I was all that in a Big Mac because I had stores at Fred Siegel. So it was like, oh, look at me. Like I was literally the epitome of look at me. And, you know, and I didn't know anything. And, you know, against the advice of my grandfather, who was the accountant for the city of Norgo, and my attorney telling me don't open any more stores, I'm like, no, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be beautiful. It's like, here I am. But it was the best lesson ever. But it's like, that is case in point of like, don't let your ego get in the way and listen to the people that know the business and understand numbers. Cause I certainly did. And I still don't. I still suck at numbers. And it's like, but I know that, and that's why I'm glad you're talking about Management One, because it's like, so many retailers do not have open to buy. They don't even have reports to know, and they are buying on the
vibes.
Yeah, they're buying on their vibes and their passion. And like, but I love you and Home Dork. I love home decor. It's like, that's awesome. And I have to have this conversation with sometimes my retailers, like, how long have you had this? I don't know, a couple years. Like what? Like, why isn't it gone on sale? Because I know it will sell at some point. It's not going to sell. I got news for you. It's like you moved it, we moved it, and I mean, I've got retailers that I will literally move the same thing 6 times over, and it's like, cut it, get rid of it, and don't get back into it. And it's like having an open to buy person. They guide you, and they guide you by your numbers and by reports. And if you don't have reports and you don't have somebody or an open to buy person, you're literally buying blindly, and you're literally just like buying on your gut, and your gut is not always right. And it's like the numbers never lie.
Numbers never lie. Exactly. And one thing, David Cohen, I think he's like the main one at Management One. I can't remember what his title is exactly. On our onboarding call, he said it perfectly. He's like, when you go out onto your your floor, I need you to look at every single piece of merchandise, not as a piece of merchandise, but as a $20 bill. Mm-hmm. So you have little $20 bills everywhere spread. He's like, do you want to leave that $20 bill just there hanging out with the wind? Or do you want to turn that $20 bill and turn it into 30, 40, 50? He's like, because every day that $20 bill is on that floor, it loses $1, loses 50 cents. It's like, so you literally have money just hanging out in your storefront because you don't want to put it on sale, because you don't want to re-merchandise it, because you don't want to advertise it, or because you're just stuck on that item because you like it. He's like, but that doesn't mean everybody likes it.
Yep. You
can definitely get something that you like that represents your sense of the vibe of your store that everybody's going to like.
A lot of times, you may not like it. That you know, as a buyer, I mean, when I was buying for Burt's Pharmacy, there's a lot of things I did not like, but it was like I knew they were going to sell. Like, this is our client. I mean, it gets down. Part of it is getting down to knowing who your customer is.
And I still don't know who my customer is. I will say that because there's those things that I just will not compromise. I refuse to. Like my friend, the one that I tell you about Westside and all that stuff, she will not shop in my store because her color palette is blacks and whites and grays and neutrals. that is not my color palette. And she's like, Jazmin, but you would sell so much more and you'd be way more successful if you stuck with a neutral girly. I'm like, but I'm not a neutral girly. Like, we already have like, what, 2 stores dedicated to neutral girly? I don't want to be a copy paste version of that.
Yeah.
Like, I will find my customer. Maybe my customer isn't in my local area, but I'm going to find my customer. And I've only been in business a year and a half. It's not like I've been in business 10 years and I still am trying to find my customer. But I also, going back to TikTok, I had to be okay with opening myself up to a new set, because, you know, opening your personal life and yourself to a platform like TikTok or just social media in general.
Oh my God.
You have to be strong internally.
Yeah.
Handle everything, that all the positive, which is amazing, but also handle all that negative in the back.
There's a lot of trolls. And that's the one thing, it's like, I think that may scare people too, is the trolls. Like, people.
And it's not even trolls. It's other business owners.
Yeah.
Because
I still consider those trolls.
Because like with my stitching that I started doing, do you know how many questions I get how do you do your stitching? And what needle do you use? And what tool do you use? And what embroidery thread do you use? And it's like, I know that Ashley preaches community over competition, but I'm like, at what point?
Yeah, there's a certain point that I mean, for sure. I mean, for me, like, I give out, show me your stores. I give out all the information, but I don't have a store, and I just want other retailers to be started. But there's a certain point that you as a creator, like, it is not your job to train other owners on how to do something like that. That is their responsibility. I mean, they can ask, but it is not your job to train people coming into this or
just in general. Where do you get your patches? Yeah, I'm literally everywhere, because that's literally what it is, everywhere. And then I'll get answer or messages on the back end. No, like, literally, where do you get your patches? I'm like everywhere, like Amazon.
You can't tell me. You can't tell me.
You can't tell me. Like, and I'm just like thinking, I don't answer them back. And then they get mad at me. She won't even answer any questions. I'm like, do you want me to give you www.da-da-da-da? Because there's literally maybe 40 websites that I'm about to give you. And I'm like, and all you have to do is Google.
Yeah. Spend a little bit of time researching. And that's why I said, like, when I asked you on the sides, like, would you be willing to talk about this? Like, I was like, you don't need to tell me numbers, anything like that. Just talk about what doing business on TikTok and what it has done for you and for your business. And it's like, you had told me you met with Management One. Again, don't talk about numbers. Just talk about,
let's just say, if I would not have gone quote unquote viral on TikTok and would not have been doing my TikTok lives and making my hats on TikTok Live and opening myself to a new subset of customers all over the United States and even Canada. I think I shipped one to Canada. My numbers last year from TikTok alone and my hats alone represented half of my revenue for my business.
That is huge.
That is huge. And that's on hats alone.
Yeah. Think about and that's like when I went on live, it was like, for creators, think about what you do that you can go live. But I mean, like I said, even more diving into deeper is like what you had said earlier, is that you have built a community. You are talking not just about the hat and building, but you're talking about mental health. You're talking about raising kids. Like, you're creating a community. And I think that that's a lot of what people don't realize. You're doing your business and you're selling a shit ton of hats and you're building a community.
And at the same time, it's like, I've learned now, I started wearing my clothes that I sell in the store. And they're like, oh my God, where is that t-shirt from? Oh, wow, you're a plus size girl. Like, how are you comfortable wearing what you're wearing? I'm like, y'all just do it. But you look so cute. I could never. I'm like, just try it. If you think I look cute, you can look cute too. But I'm like 42. I'm like, girl, I'm 40. And I've had someone be like, but you look 30. I'm like, you are gonna, we let you feel. I'm like, and please tell me how a 40-year-old is supposed to dress, because I'll probably be dressing like this when I'm like 70.
Yeah.
And it's open. Like, so now on top of that, like, now my website visits have gone from maybe like 5, 10 a day to 120, 130. up to 200 because I am doing these TikTok lives. So it's like, it has helped me to pull out of this like rut that I was in with my store, because there's only so much foot traffic that I can depend on in a growing downtown.
Yeah.
And now I know how vital it is for me to do these TikToks lives, and how the only bad thing about it is that because I've had to rebuild again, the lives have really taken me away from my storefront.
That's why I wondered while you're doing this, who's running your store, because people come to you for you.
Yes.
We love you. And because I'm sure you dress them and it's like, and then you take that out. So that's why I was like, are you doing it in the store?
Yes.
Like in the store on the floor when you've got customers in? I mean, that seems like,
I ended up moving all my hat bar stuff to the back room. But so I'll have customers be like, well, we want to make a hat. Oh, Jazmin's on TikTok live. And I'm like the secret room, let's go to the back. And I'll pause my women on the live and I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to, build a hat with my customer. And they're very understanding. They're like, oh girl, don't worry about, because I've already built a community with them. Like, don't worry about it. We'll wait. You tend to your customer. We know you have a store.
That's amazing.
Because I've built that kind of, and I've been honest with them. Like I actually do have a brick and mortar. I have a functioning store, and they're like, girl, we're here. Don't worry. We're just listening to you at work, building a hat. Like,
I do wonder how it will be interesting to see how you, for those of you who are watching, I've got them chilled in. It's their dinner hour, and they're like sitting at my feet, like pawing at me. And it will not surprise me if you hear her barking. It means it's really time now. Like she'll start like literally barking and stamping her feet, like God. But it will be interesting to see, because obviously live, you're not going to walk away from. That's building you money in your store. So it's going to be interesting to see how the two intersect, or who in your store becomes the new you, because you do kind of have to trust and let go. And, this is, whether it's your daughter.
Well, right now it's become easier because it's my daughter. So my daughter is an extension of me, right? But and she's going to have to go back to high school in a few months. So that'll be interesting. I haven't gotten that far yet, but I want to get to a point where I can slowly start introducing somebody new to that aspect, or be a combination of both. Be like me working in the background, doing what I have to do with my customers. And then, all right, like tag you're it. Now you go deal with customers and let me do something. Like I still haven't, thought that far ahead, but do I want to let go of my TikTok lives? No. Do I still be present with them? Yes. But I do know that I can't keep doing this every day forever for the viability of my brick and mortar, because I can't concentrate on the buying aspect or the merchandising aspect of it. But now I've been kind of slowly doing these things with the girls on TikTok. And I'm like, all right, guys, we're going to take a little field trip. So I'll take the camera with me, and then we'll come on my storefront, especially like Tuesdays and Wednesdays. It's slow. And I'll start merchandising stuff in the store, and they're watching me. That's what I'm saying. When you told me, what do I do? I'm like, they literally want to watch you do that.
That's crazy. And like I said, like I preach it all the time, go live, get comfortable, blah, blah. But it gets down to my business. And it's like, I talk so much about what I do between stories and between, the show me your stores. And it's like, at a certain point, it's like, isn't it going to be just like more of the same thing? But I guess live doing merchandising the store and talking about what I'm doing. My fear is always, how is it going to slow me down? And is it going to affect the person I'm working? Because I'm working for somebody on a job. It's not like it's my store and I could take as long as I want. I have to be somewhere the next day or the next week. And my fear is always like, am I using somebody else's time that they're paying me for my, that's what I kind of wrestle with. So I know I can go on live for a couple minutes here and there, but I can't imagine.
But I believe okay, let's say you're doing my store. I think at the end of the day, you're going to have to find the right retailers to do it with, because they have to think of it as a way of you're opening up your customers to their store. So it has to be seen as something mutually beneficial. So if you were to come to me like, hey, Jazmin, I do these lives. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. And you don't have to do it for 4 or 5 hours, maybe like an hour and a half, and then go on with like, if you know you have like this huge table that you're going to build and you're not going to be moving like everywhere around the store, you just set up the tripod. And this is how we're going to build, kind of like you have the conversations with us, like, don't use plastic risers, use this instead, all this other stuff. And you already have everything there that you don't really have to move the tripod around. You're just working and talking.
I love that you're schooling me on this. I love this.
And you're going to define in your community that you're going to, like, now I have what they call moderators on my live. So there's like people who
those come from, okay, that's a good question. So when they're moderators, are they TikTok moderators or they're your moderators?
They're community members.
They're watching, you're filming, you're going live. They're on a separate computer.
No, it's like you're my moderator.
Okay.
And on TikTok, you can designate, like I've had, like in the beginning, I didn't know what a moderator was or anything. And all these women were like, Jazmin, you need a moderator to answer the questions that are the common, like what's the pricing? How do I get on your lineup? What's the name of your store? It's like the questions that you don't like have to answer over and over and over and over again, or just like
they type in the answer.
Yeah, they'll type like it's like I'm watching TikTok live and I'm your moderator. And then I would be like, oh, okay, like I'm your moderator. They're asking what you're doing. And I'm going to answer for you. Oh, she's setting up a table at this retailer.
Ah, okay. Cause it's funny because I wear glasses. Everyone knows that because I'm fucking blind as a bat. And the funniest thing to watch my generation of people go live on Instagram or Facebook, not having, it's like, she said, oh, hi. It's like, it kills me to watch. And it's like, I know exactly that's what I would be doing. It's like, I can't see what it says. So I'm going to have, and it's like, that is what I don't ever want.
Okay, so this is what I do because I use glasses, but I have my contacts right now. So I actually do my TikTok lives on my iPad.
Yeah.
Okay. So I set up my iPad on the tripod. Okay. And I just literally figured this out Friday. If you like swipe, it doesn't have battery, but if you swipe right, like the comments are huge. And I'm like, game changer. But before, what I was doing is like I was setting up my iPad as like my video camera, and I had made like a separate account, like totally just because so I could log into like go into my live, and I would look at the comments through my phone and answer comments.
Think about it. So now you have a moderator somebody that's watching that will answer the questions as they come in, so you can stay more engaged, and you're not so there is and I got to find it. There is it's a vintage house in LA, and they sell vintage couture, and they go live all the time. The Catwalk Fairfax. It's amazing vintage couture. And it's like two ladies that are way older than I am who are running this live thing. And it's hilarious because it's literally like them like, she's asking blah, blah, and then they turn around and that's kind of what I like picture. So it is nice to know, like, having somebody there to answer the questions. So you stay engaged, because soon as they break away from talking, it's like, oh, no, don't do that. And like they're having this whole separate conversation, which now I feel like the people watching are like, okay, I'm over this. Although I'm watching for pure entertainment value because
people love that though. Do you know how many side conversations I have with my daughter?
Really?
Oh yeah. Or my husband walks in and we have side conversations, and like I have built a community so far that now they know, like, oh, the hubby's here. When he went back to work. Or like my middle child, like if you're ever on my live and you hear my middle child River come in the room, she's a very River is, I swear, she's going to be like a social media person one day. Like, you ask her what she wants to be, she says all the time, oh, I told my mommy that she can go back to nursing when I turn 18 because this is going to be my store. And she's 9.
Atta girl, River. I love it.
Yeah. Or she'll call, like she came in Friday because they go to summer camp right now. So she got home from summer camp and they always come straight to the store. And she walks past the little hallway to go to the room where I'm at. And she's like, all right, I'm here. Where's my audience?
Oh my God, I love it. I don't like it's not surprising with her mom.
Yeah. They hear River's here. Oh my God, it's about to get fun. River's here. So it's like they want that. Like you just said, you stay engaged because you're just there for the conversations. But that's what TikTok is, though. That's like TikTok is about community. TikTok, yes, it is about selling. And you see these brands just like sell, sell, sell. Oh my God, I just love this cute top and it's my favorite top. And like in my head, on the other side, I'm like, well, how many favorite tops do you have? It's like every other video. This isn't my favorite top. This is the top that you must get. And I'm like, at what point are you just overconsumption? And I'm like, and this is coming from me that I own a business, to just not selling who you are and yourself and your brand. And I think at the end of the day, when I started my store, and that's the hard part, right? Because they tell you, always think of your business as as your exit plan. Like, how are you going to get exit out of it? But for somebody like me, like a creative, like, but it is me. Like my brand is me. My brand is me. It's who I am. It's how I think. It's how I feel. It's my views on every subject that you can imagine that transcends into what I'm selling. You know, I can't be anything. Like in one corner, I'm selling like a Virgin Mary statue. And then like right next to it, I'm selling something that says FFF, yourself mug, you know, but because as people, we're multifaceted.
Yes.
So when you go on TikTok Live, you have to be multifaceted. And going on TikTok Live is very different than going on Facebook Live. And it's like the weirdest thing. Like
I'm on Facebook, so I always attribute, and I hate to say this, Facebook is where my mom is. Mm-hmm. Like I don't, and I know there are people social media wise that's what they're comfortable with. Like that's what they know they're comfortable with. They're not comfortable going live on Instagram. They're not comfortable with. It's funny. I don't spend any time on Facebook anymore because I got out of it because politically I couldn't handle. I was getting in too many arguments with people that like Instagram to me is like where for business wise, there's more of a relationship cultivated, and TikTok, it's seeming that's what that's doing as well. So it's like, that's kind of where I spend all my time. But what is the difference of live on Facebook versus live on TikTok?
I feel like Facebook Live, I couldn't be myself on Facebook Live. I couldn't be this.
Why?
I don't know. It just feels different. Like, I feel like Facebook will be more like, I'm selling on live. Like, this is a shirt and this comes in a medium and this is how it fits, and instead of me just hanging out for the vibes and talking and let's just create.
Have you tried doing it?
Yes, but it doesn't feel the same.
Doesn't. Okay.
And I think I know why. Because Instagram, and even Instagram, this is going to be Facebook and Instagram. Facebook and Instagram, I feel like when you go on live, it doesn't show it to people.
Yeah.
Like people outside of your followers. Whereas TikTok shows your lives to people outside of your followers.
Interesting.
And I've done it because I got that.
They're very big into pushing retail out. They're very big into pushing education out. They're very big in pushing certain things out for sure.
Oh yeah. And it's to not just your followers. And I feel like the times that I have gone live on Instagram or I have gone live on Facebook, it's been to just like the people who follow me.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I'm scrolling through Facebook and all of a sudden I just see this live pop up. Oh, I wonder what that is. Like that doesn't happen on Facebook. Just like that doesn't happen on Instagram.
When you go on live on Instagram, is it disappointing to look up and see 7 followers versus when you're on TikTok, it's like you're a fucking rock star and you got like 10,000 or whatever it is?
Yeah. Like on TikTok, I went live twice already, and it gives you, it breaks down the analytics, and it said the people who were watching my TikTok, like 98% of them were followers. So in other words, it opened up no doors. It's like I stayed in my house and I did my TikTok and it was just the people who knew where I lived that came.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, I feel like TikTok, it's like, oh, I'm setting up a live in the mall.
Interesting. That's an analogy.
Yeah. So like, that's how I feel it is, because then like, oh my, like I had this lady, it was really amazing. She's like, oh my God, your TikTok live just came across my page. I stayed for the music because I play a lot of like early 2000s and like late 90s R&B and hip hop. But then I mix it in with like Mexican norteños. Like it's like all over the place, just like my brain.
I love it.
Like I stayed for the music, but then I followed because of you.
I love that. So when you are going live, like for the hat, I told you, I just want you to make one for me. I'm not giving you colors. I'm not giving you how you're going live and people are picking and choosing because you'll show them what patches you have.
No.
How, yes and no. Some of it is surprise.
Well, I have a little disclaimer because I've seen others. I'm very much analytical. I'm very research based in how I approach things sometimes. And like, I always tell my husband, because he's like, you're just a know-it-all. Like I feel like you just feel like you know everything. I'm like, nah, like it's ADHD. I'm serious. I harp on a subject and I just like go full force and I figure everything out about it. And I like to listen to podcasts, listen to books, and I'd rather listen to that in the car than listen to music sometimes. But I tell people when they want to make a hat, I'm like, look, it all depends on how you approach a brand, how you approach yourself, and how you approach what you're doing. And like, I always tell people, I feel like my hats are a piece of art.
They are.
Seen other hat makers and I'm like, oh, like they're just like placing the patches and I'm like, oh my God, none of that looks cute or none of that looks cohesive. So I see every hat that I make as a piece of art, and it all has to flow and it all has to look balanced. And because at the end of the day, it's my name on that hat.
Yeah.
It's my name, it's my brand, and I'm not comparing myself to these people in any sense. But like, would Christian Dior put out a monstrosity of a piece? Would Anthropology put out an art piece that was just like things that were just put together? No. Would they create a collection of clothing that was just a mishmash of checkered and florals and no, they wouldn't. So why would I expect that from the things I make?
You curate. So tell me how you curated mine then. I
always start with I always tell people, I'm going to let you choose your main patch, which would be the howdy on your hat and the color of your hat. And then tell me your likes and your dislikes. So they'll tell me, I don't like butterflies and I don't like hearts. I don't want anything to do with playing cards. And then we go based off of that. So then I'll start building it. And I have a little mannequin, like a little styrofoam mannequin head, and I'll start building it. They're like, oh, and I really like the color pink. And I like those, tell me their likes and dislikes. And then I'll put something together. And then I'm like, okay, what do you think? Oh, well, I don't really like that butterfly. I'm like, okay, well, let me switch it around. But I don't let them choose like, oh, can you move that butterfly like maybe like 2 inches up on this side? Or like, I'm like, that's not how I work. I can't work that way. Because
I just said, make me whatever. I did not give you, there was not one request whatsoever.
Because I even asked you, what vibe? Like Western, not Western? Like, what do you want? You're like, whatever.
Do it. So I loved opening it because it was such a great surprise. And it's like, I love it because you did curate it. It's not just you slapped together. That's why I was like, how do you pick out people's things? And, but I love the idea that people can pick and choose some things and some things you do on there. So have you gotten a customer where you're doing a lot, you're picking out, and it's like the person's like, well, not that. And then every time you show them, no, change that and change, like at what point do you just go, okay.
When it's like simple things, because I just had one last week and she's like, but I don't really like this hat. And I have a lot of patience because at the end of the day, I want you to be happy with it because my hats aren't cheap, and I understand that. And people work very hard for their money. And I'll tell you something I've learned about retail as I've gone along with this. But I can work with you if your requests are within reasonable terms, right? But I have refused hats when they're like, let's say like your hat right now. They wanted the howdy patch, but they also wanted another patch that said, how you doing? And then they wanted another patch that had like another saying. And I'm like, whoa, that's a little bit too much. Like now you have 3 sayings on a hat. Like that's too much for the eye. And I've told them, I'm like, I don't think I'm the person for you. Because I cannot make this hat. I cannot make this hat and send it to you and you go off saying to the world that this is Frida Bae Co made this hat for you. Because that doesn't align with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like if you were to walk. Yeah. It's like if you were to walk in a store and be like, no, but I really want to use these plastic risers. And you're like, no, we're not doing that. You're like, they're like, no, I want you to use these. I don't want you to use any natural elements. What would you say?
My dead body.
Exactly. Because I feel like even as a business owner, and especially, I mean, some people are like, but it's money. Like my husband, of course. What do you care? It's money. They're paying you money. I'm like, but I'm a creative at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's my name on that. And it's to me, like I'm not trying to be snotty about it. I'm not trying to be any kind of way, but I truly see these hats as a work of art, as a little walking work of art. And now recently I started branding all my hats. Does this one have it? Yeah, look. So I cut these out of leather and I started branding all of my hats.
Does mine have it?
No, I started recently doing these 2 weeks ago.
That's great.
So I have refused hats because they just want these things, or they want something that's like something red, pink, green, blue, like all the colors. And I'm just looking at it like, I cannot do this.
Yeah, I mean, I get that because it's like me with merchandising, and it's like, well, we want all this. It's like, okay, there's too much. Like there's a certain, with any art form, there needs to be a cohesiveness, and there's a balance of scale of like how big, how small, and how they all create a cohesive and balanced tabletop hat product. So I understand that. So because now it's like, I know we've really gone in. Wow. For somebody, I'm going to ask you two questions. First is going to be, you've heard it on the podcast before. As a creative, how do you get inspired, especially since you are now going live and you have your retails, but how do you stay inspired creatively?
Looking at other stores. Sometimes, for inspiration, I like walking Anthropologie. And I'm just like, I want to get to a point in my store where I can change out art pieces, displays quarterly or with the seasons. I want to get there because I want to be able to make them because I can make them. Yeah. Nature, I get inspired from other stores. Art, I love going to museums. I get inspired from everywhere. Like I can be watching TV and I'm like, oh my God, that is actually pretty cool. I like Pinterest. Pinterest inspires me a lot. And I like looking at, maximalist homes or maximalist home decor just to see how they blend. Because especially with stores like mine that are very creative and artsy, I can't look at a Studio McGee home or a minimalist boho decor home because I'm not going to get anything out of it for my store. But if I see somebody who has like a maximalist home, or I see something on TikTok that is like a maximalist home or a modern Mexican home, because they still integrate a lot of color, but still into the modern boho, whatever, I'm like, oh, wow, that actually would be pretty in my store. And I don't copy it, but I'll draw inspiration from it. But that, like, museums, other stores, other retailers, people like you, like education that you provide, it does inspire me to how to merchandise my tabletops. I literally just gave away all my plastic risers, and it's like every time I see them, I'm like, oh, Michelle will be so mad.
Oh, I'm so proud of you. It's hilarious. It's literally going to be on my gravestone. Is
no plastic risers.
But I'll tell you, it's like it's all a difference in the display. So I love that, and thank you for that. Okay, my last question is, for people who want to go live that are nervous about it, what are your top 5 tips?
Be yourself. Be your unfiltered self. Depending on your brand, never talk about politics. I have been asked to make certain products, and I'm like, I am sorry that I don't do that. Or I'll just ignore the question altogether because I just don't want. I don't want to open that can of worms, and I refuse to even deal with it. But I would say be yourself. If your brand is not about politics, don't even open that to a certain extent. But there, like they say, but there will be signs of where I stand, right? I don't have to be outward of it, but there will be signs. It's like when they say, I'm going to win the lottery one day and nobody's going to know, but there will be signs.
Yeah.
So same here. Don't be afraid to bring in not everything, but some personal into it, because people want to see that. People want to know that you're authentic. And eventually, like it's only so long that you can keep up a facade before people start seeing the real you. Mm. So if you're just the real you from the get-go, you're going to weed out all those people who are going to criticize you and dislike you and just say, oh, she's a hypocrite, or she's that, or because I can tell you this, opening up my store through TikTok Live, you know how many people have ended up driving to my store from like 5 hours away, 6 hours away, because they wanted to meet me. And their number one thing, it's like what they say, don't meet your idols, because then you're going to be disappointed. I get that all the time. They're like, oh my God, you're like the same in person. And to me, it's like, well, yeah,
that's me. I totally agree with that. Like well, you get what you get.
This is me. And they're like, no, it's because like we've been disappointed. Like this one lady, she just came in last week. She's like, there's this girl that I followed on TikTok, and I was so excited to meet her. And then I go into the store to meet her. She's just this standoffish, not very kind person, which is what she portrays herself on TikTok. And I'm like, nah, like this is me. So then it opens up like, whoa, I'm gonna bring my aunt and we're gonna make a summer vacation out of it, or when's the big next market downtown, because I want to bring my family. And it's like, be yourself. Don't try to put a facade, because people are eventually gonna see right through it. And at the end of the day, that's gonna be more detrimental to your business than you think it's gonna be. Because then, like some business owners, and I've experienced some of that. It's like you see this persona online and the things they talk about, and just things they talk about. And then I'm like, I know you. Like, this is not you. Like, if only people knew. Like, don't be fake. Yeah. Like, I think, and it's so easy to just put up a fake front on social media, but eventually the cat's going to get out of the bag, and there's only so long that you're going to be able to keep that persona. And just be comfortable in your own skin. I mean, I don't always wear makeup. And if you're not having a good day, I just tell my followers, like, oh my God, today was just like a hard day, and da da da. And sometimes they'll be like, hey, you don't have to go live today. We'll see you tomorrow. Take a mental health day. But you have to create that community where they trust you.
That's incredible.
To know that you still showed up, and they'll be very forgiving, and be prepared mentally in your own self and who you are, because you are going to get a lot of that backlash in the back end. Yep. And now I just read it and I'm like, oh my God, they must have just had a bad day. And I just delete it.
Yep. Don't take it personally.
Don't take it personally, because they're just having a bad day and they're angry at themselves, or I don't know what happened, but it's like, you're yelling at me for what? Like,
my favorite, I don't know if you saw it on my Instagram, my favorite are the influencers that snap back at the haters and the trolls. Like one's a gay guy that does amazing makeup tutorials. And I love when they post the person's name and their comment. And it's like, why do you keep wearing all this bronzer? And he's like, okay, honey. And he goes into the whole thing, and it's like, I love that so much, but that's got to be draining. I mean, it's got to be draining, constantly going back at something. It's like, but for those that do every now and then, I got to say, like, I have huge props for that, because it's like,
I mean, maybe I'll do that once in a while if somebody just really gets out of pocket. So far, it hasn't happened, but like my therapy has helped me a lot. And my therapist told me, she's like, sometimes people are going to hate you just because of who you are.
Well, it's not you. It's what people don't realize is that these people who find issue with whatever it is, whether there's a fitness person I follow, she drops F-bombs. Like, you think I drop F-bombs? Holy God. Like, she is like, and half of her things is why I love your content, but why do you have to say the F-bomb so much? Or what? And she is constant. But it's like, at a certain point, it would get like really old, but you have to realize, like, these people have nothing else. Like, if you go in and do a deep dive, or even just go in and look at who the person is that's commenting, it's like, there is something else going on that they feel the need that they need to say and do these things. And it has nothing about you. You're just the, person of the day who happened to be on their radar. And it's like, and at the end of the day, you have to remember they're following you. You're not, they're following you. It's very easy just to hit the unfollow button but they choose to continue to follow you for whatever reason, and it is not you. So
you have to be very strong mentally to put yourself out on social media. And so you have to be prepared for that. And like I said, I've been going to therapy for a long time to just work on myself, work on my self-esteem, and just be comfortable in myself and in my skin. And yeah, like now I'm just unapologetic. That's why I think my slogan for my store is be uniquely you siempre, always. And I tell people like, I am me. And this is what I am. Like, you're either going to take me or not, love me or hate me. I'm blunt, but I'm very caring. And like my best friend will tell me, she's like, because she's going through divorce, she's like, I have to mentally prepare myself to go talk to you and tell you what's going on with me because I know you're not going to hold back. I'm like, no, because I effing love you, man. Like, just want to shake you. And I love you.
I know our listeners are going to fall in love with you. Like I said, I absolutely adore you. I feel like I know you. I really feel like I know you, but your story, your businesses, your hustle, your drive, your tenacity, your personality is amazing. Like, you literally glow. And it was such a pleasure to have you come on. And like I said, this is the first time I've purposely split up an episode because it has been so inspiring to talk to you and listen to you. Like everything from your parents to your family and your husband. And like, it is made one of the most pleasurable conversations I've ever had on this podcast. So I thank you so much because I know people are going to love you.
Can I just say, I want to be you when I grow up? I was telling my husband last time, I'm like, she's like, well, who is she? I'm like, she literally has my dream job. Like, I want to go around the United States and just merchandise stores and make them look beautiful. And just like, I never knew that was a job. Like, that's an amazing job. I
love what I do. And I'm glad it shows because it's like, I am so lucky that I get to do what I do and I love what I do. And I spend a lot of time away from my family and there's a lot of tears sometimes, but at the end of the day, like, I love what I do and I'm glad it shows. And thank you.
You're amazing at it. So thank you for the inspiration that you give me.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Because everyone's going to love you, give everybody your handles for TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, give it all. And we'll have the show notes as well, but
everything is at Frida, Frida Bae, BAECO. Everything's Frida Bae Co. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Everything.
Your website?
FridaBaeCo.com.
Thank you so much, Jazmin.